What's up everyone, it's Vivi and welcome back to another Sly Cooper 5 Imagined video. Now many of you guys have enjoyed part 1 and part 2, you've shown a lot of support and it means a lot. Now when I uploaded part 2, I had no idea that I would ever upload part 3. I thought to myself, hey, I discussed the overall story in part 1, as for part 2, I talked about the general idea of gameplay. But then I thought to myself, okay, have I actually taken the time discussing the introduction of Sly 5? I did briefly, I think, but in depth I did not. So with that in mind, I told myself, hey, let's make a part 3 and call it Introduction/Tutorial. Let's get one thing straight, guys. We can all agree that Sly 5 is the most anticipated title in the series. We want it to be the longest game, but not repetitive, of course. Sanzaru, one way of making the game long is to add a long introduction, and make it interesting, of course. And at this point, the developer has to consider the older fanbase. Show how much potential the series has. Yes, it's not a realistic game with realistic graphics. That doesn't mean you can't make a story which is emotionally driven. What, just because it's a cartoon game, you can't do that? No. Now, for those of you who've been subscribed on this channel for a while, I've talked about the movie a lot, and I actually regret it. But in one of those videos, I talked about the orphanage, how it could be implemented in the movie, which is now on hold, unfortunately. If the movie's not happening, include the orphanage in Sly Cooper 5. 4 games. We're talking about 4 games which did not have the orphanage. We only had these small static images, that's all. One way Sanzaru can impress the fans, bring the orphanage. Add something we never had, or add something which was briefly explained, like the orphanage. Bring it to life. It was shown in the comics. Since the movie now remains a mystery, take what had cinematic potential, Sly Murray Bentley as kids, and add that in the sequel. With that being said, how will this scenario take place? Like I've said in the past, I'd imagine Sly passing out in the middle of the desert in ancient Egypt. Once that happens, flashback to 1984. Have Sly remember his past. You want to make the game the darkest in the series? Add the night of the attack, before the orphanage. Instead of having narrations like the other games, well actually it's not gonna work out. Sly is passed out in Egypt, how is he gonna talk? While he's passed out, he has like this nightmare slash dream, let's call it that. The scene begins as follows. Have Sly, young Sly, upstairs in his room, he's 8 years old. His dad calls him to come downstairs. He's gonna show him the Thievius Raccoonus. They hear this sudden banging noise on the door. Connor, his father, tells Sly to hide in the closet. Or perhaps even told him to go upstairs, but Sly, he was curious, he went in the closet instead. Now, will they keep the faces hidden? Who knows? Perhaps as a joke, just to frustrate us. Will his mother be there? Was she even there? It is assumed, because in Sly 3, Sly said, "Clockwork caught up with my parents," implying both his parents, mom and dad. Perhaps she was simply visiting that night. They got divorced sometime, somewhere, and have them argue. You want to make it a bit more realistic? Sly's upstairs and hears his mom and dad arguing. Show how his parents had a complicated relationship. Guys, just the night of the attack, that's one way to immerse the player in the game emotionally. Straight on. If Sanzaru is having doubts, difficulty coming up with ideas, they should add the night of the attack, and they don't have to make it intense. Sly's in the closet, and he starts hearing these loud noises. You mute the background, no need to show any detail. Have Sly simply cry. End scene. Now, I don't know if they would go to lengths where they show the body on the floor. While we saw that with Azimuth and Ratchet and Clank, there's Mufasa from Lion King. Disney has done it, so I don't see why not. They don't have to show blood or gore or anything. Sly is not about that. Anyways, Sly's crying, the cops arrive, and then you see this person. You only see a shadow figure, just for a mystery factor. Have players wonder, hey, who took Sly to the orphanage? If it's Penelope, I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. With what they've done to her in Sly 4, I don't hate the idea, but she could be involved in a lot more stuff, right? If, let's say, she were the one who turned Clockwork into metal in ancient Egypt, she went back to the past and all that, perhaps she ended up in a time where the Phoenix 5 attacked, and then Penelope realized to keep everything she's done intact, she would have to send Sly to the orphanage. If she didn't, the timeline would get corrupt. She visits the house and she realizes that she's actually the one who sent Sly to the orphanage. Anyways, I don't want to confuse you guys with the whole time travel thing. Next, he's sent to the orphanage and then he wakes up from a nightmare, crying. He keeps dreaming the night of the attack. This I also discussed for the movie, for those of you who are new to this channel. Now, some of you may view Sly Cooper as a cartoony game with no ability whatsoever to put someone on the edge of their seat. That is not true. Graphics have nothing to do with this. Sanzaru, take the opportunity to show people that Sly Cooper has a very deep story behind everything. Prove to the players that you have what it takes to make Sly Cooper 5 a very deep story-driven game. So where was I? Okay, Bentley and Murray, they see Sly crying. They wake him up. They know he's having a nightmare, and they tell him, hey, let's cheer you up. Why not try and steal cookies? Boom! Cue gameplay and tutorial. Now for the tutorial, Sly is 8 years old. He didn't know any move from the book. The book was pretty much non-existent. The pages were all missing. Remember? Now in the comics, he did not have the cane with him. We can say it was taken away due to, I don't know, danger reasons. Swinging that thing all around, Mrs. Puff probably saw Sly and took it away. So about this tutorial, basic controls: jump, dodge roll, crawl, abilities that weren't in the book. Basic. Now we don't see much in the comics. What they could do is expand on that. And how I imagine the gameplay is as follows. Sly's in a hallway. There's a bunch of doors. Doors with glass windows. There are lights on. We can say the workers are behind those doors. And behind those doors, perhaps they're having a talk with someone. The game will prompt you to hide. Behind a plant, a wardrobe, it could be anything. And here's another cool extra thing they could add. Have Sly overhear the conversations. For example, you can hear something like, okay, see you next time, bye. That pretty much tells you that you have to hide, because the person will come out and they'll see you if you're present. That'll be job failed and you'll have to start from the beginning. Now, okay, in the comics we have Sly simply entering through a window. What if before that they had to go through a bunch of hallways? They could just make it big, no problem. Since Sly is passed out in Egypt, he can't narrate. We're not gonna hear his old voice in the background. Simply have young Sly talk, where he can't get caught. Places where he can talk out loud and talk about his friends, his past adventures, jokes, anything. One thing he could talk about at one location is how Bentley and especially Murray came to the orphanage. I believe that Bentley came to the orphanage before, if we go with the story that he came to this place as an egg initially. So he was a baby, right? But there are two stories actually. The egg, and the other one is he wandered away from his family due to his poor eyesight. So I'm wondering which story they'd like to go with. Once they get the cookies, have someone staring in the background. Someone who saw the whole thing. No, it's not Carmelita. Yes, we don't know much about her parents. All we know is that she's the fourth cop in her family. But having Carmelita in the same orphanage, it could, I don't know, it's probably too cliche. If she were at the same orphanage, if she were orphaned, let's say, that would mean that she had no idea that Sly was in the same building. If she had seen Sly, she would have recognized him when she caught him on that roof. Now, whoever that person was, spying on them this whole time, could it be a future threat or an ally? I wouldn't say future villain. It's I don't know. But they could turn out to be an ally. Who knows? I don't want to use the word jealous. We've heard that word so much in the series. Clockwork, Le Paradox, Dr. M, jealous of how his family line got so famous thieves, getting away with everything. We've heard the word jealous enough already. Well, at least the whole theme of jealousy. That's what I mean. Anyways, the whole point of the video is to simply say that bringing the scenes from the comics to life would be a fantastic idea. Some might say we don't need backstories of Murray and Bentley, the game's about Sly Cooper. Well, here's the thing. Yes, the game says Sly Cooper, but Murray and Bentley, they're like brothers to him. They grew up together. I feel like it's time to explore these characters a bit more. One way of doing that is have Sly explain how they came to the orphanage, or at least explain their backgrounds a bit, and this can be done in the introduction. But wait a minute, Sly is passed out in the sand. He remembers his past. He remembers talking to himself, talking out loud about his friends. Well, yeah, why not? Anyways, after that, after they steal the cookies and eat them, we start hearing wake up, wake up, wake up in the back. The screen fades to white, and Sly suddenly wakes up to water being splashed in his face. By who? We don't know. It could be Slight and Common, it could be someone who works for Slight and Common. Whoever it is, that person found Sly passed out in the sand. I think it's pretty realistic, don't you think? I mean, he's probably dying of thirst right now. He's gonna pass out eventually if he doesn't find anyone. Seeing how the cutscenes in Sly 4 were so animated compared to the 3 previous games, I can see them making Sly 5 a more cinematic, heavy story-driven game. A lot of people prefer the first 3 games, I get that, but they do have some plot holes, you have to admit. A bunch of questions here and there. Why did this character do this? How did this character turn into that? Since Sly 5 hopefully will be the longest game, they should limit the number of questions that might get asked. If you've listened to part 2, I talked about how Carmelita can have her own episodes in the present. With that in mind, they could also animate the scenes from the comics. Her remembering Sly the first time they met, cause you know she misses him so much. See, this is what I mean. Just with these small cutscenes, you can add a lot more depth to Sly Cooper. Is it so hard? With these small extra little things, that will be one heck of a huge improvement. Sunzaru Games, since you're genuinely interested with the Sly Cooper series, prove it. Pour your heart out. Show the potential you have. Show people who have doubts about you that you can do it. Anyways, I said what I had to say, and this is it for the video. So as usual, do your stuff, leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and hopefully you enjoyed part 3. Part 4, I doubt it will happen, but you never know. But as always, I've been Vivi, and thank you for watching. Until next time.